Okay, colleagues, greetings and welcome back. Εντάξει συνάδελφοι, γεια σας και καλημέρα. Well, at least it's an early morning down here in Athens, Greece. So we're going to continue the reading of the wonderful article by Adrian Johnston from the Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy about Jacques Lacan. Uh, Early morning always makes me a little bit sentimental, kind of reminded of our classes in the university where sleepy students trying to wake up. Anyway, I want to jump into the text. I suppose I just want to say one thing. So, one short thing before we begin. So, I think Lacan is very valuable for me. In general, I think I would, if I had to define myself in one word, this would be a Foucauldian. Foucault is probably the most important philosopher for me. And I do read Nietzsche and Buddha, Marx, let's say yes, Nietzsche, Buddha, and Marx. But my understanding of Nietzsche and of Buddha and of Marx is through the lens of Foucault. And likewise, my understanding of Lacan is through the lens of Foucault. And maybe one of the, I'm not sure if this is the most important topic, but this is definitely a key topic for me. Something I talk a lot to students about the experience of childhood. And I feel it's a very instructive, it's a very important experience. Like in an important sense, was it Stephen Jay Gould who said everything is the way it is because it got that way? Kind of this evolutionary post-Darwinian thinking. Everything is the way it is because it got that way. So, and in an important respect for Foucault and for Freud and for Lacan, or for Nietzsche actually, genealogy is very important. How did people come to be this way, right? And so what we have, again, with Nietzsche, with Buddha, and with Marx, I would say that they're fighting against illusions which are inherent in human nature in general, but they're also fighting against particular, with Nietzsche and Marx, they're fighting against the illusions of the bourgeois society. So illusions of human nature in general and illusions of bourgeois society, right? And one of the key kind of aspects of this is precisely this, again, teleological versus mechanistic worldview, which I talk about a lot, teleological illusions versus the mechanistic antidote, right? The teleological, again, telos in Greek means aim or purpose or goal, and specifically here, what we're talking about is this constellation of, Descartes' ideas of our kind of self-transparency and self-control, Christian ideas, or again, within some versions of Christianity, the ideas of the immortal soul and how, again, human beings are ontologically, metaphysically responsible for their desires, although that's a complicated issue in theology in general, and Christian theology in particular, right? And and also very importantly for me, and I think for many people who are studying this now, is this notion of Homo economicus, right? So within the economic theory, within the not theory but ideology, within the dominant capitalist ideology, which is mistakenly called economic theory, right? We have this idea of Homo economicus as this, again, self-transparent individual with preferences, with a utility function, with these indifference curves, right? Who tries to maximize utility or something like that, right? And this is false and an illusion for philosophers such as Nietzsche or Buddha or Marx or Foucault or Lacan. And Lacan or Freud in this respect are very important because they unmask this false illusion of Homo economicus. And to be a bit more precise, I think the experience of the childhood is a very instructive experience. So this is the childhood is the dirty genealogical secret. So the childhood is the dirty genealogical secret. Should I quote the wonderful poem by Philip Larkin? They fuck you up, your mom and dad. They may not mean to, but they do. They fill you with the faults they've had and add some extra just for you. But they were fucked up in their turn by fools in old-style hats and coats who half the time were soppy stern and half at one another's throats. Man hands on misery to man. It deepens like a coastal shelf. Get out as early as you can and don't have any kids yourself. So this is, if you want to look this up, wonderful poem by Philip Larkin. It's called This Be the Verse. This be the verse. Or if you want, They F You Up. Anyway. So yes, and again, this is the dirty genealogical secret of childhood. Because about the adults, we sustain this fiction about ourselves. Psychologists have this phrase, benefactance, of how we're trying to present ourselves as more beneficial and more effective than we really are. So with adults, it's harder to see. But when you look at children, it's very clear how what you have is not this unified subject, but this unstable, contradictory, kind of conflicting desires, which hold in precarious balance of these opposing systems. I'm reminded of Heraclitus, Palinthropos harmonia, right? The harmony of opposing tensions. Well, not harmony, but precarious balance of opposing tensions, right? And this is kind of versus this neoliberal, economic, neo-imperialist, whatever, fiction of Homo economicus. And Homo economicus is a misdescription of people, in some sense, the way you want them to be. This is, the unity of the subject is not an internal truth. It's a forced external unity. The unity is forced upon us by the world outside. Foucault would say that there are disciplinary mechanisms that force us to be unified individuals, right? And so all of this comes under the rubric of death of the subject, death of the subject, and death of God. So death of the subject, meaning that human beings kind of are not these kind of unified, unitary, autonomous souls. We are not autonomous, unitary souls, but we're products of larger forces of biological and cultural evolution, kind of human beings are like these uneasy, precarious constellations of conflicting forces, which are themselves kind of results of major systems, biological systems, social systems, linguistic systems, psychic systems, whatever. Like there's a myriad of Foucault says, the identity, je pense donc je suis, right? Cogito ergo sum, Cartesian identity is an empty tautology. There's a myriad of souls embodying me. Again, and the unity is forced from without. Mm-hmm. And death of God, in this respect, is basically the Hobbesian idea that nothing is good or evil in and of itself. Whatsoever is the object of any man's appetite or desire is that which man calls good, and the object of man's hate and aversion is what man calls evil. There being nothing simply and absolutely so. So there are no values in nature. And both of these are very important. Again, death of subject and death of God. This is the this is the mechanistic attack on teleological worldview. So this is mechanistic versus teleological. I talk about this every day because this is the most important idea in human sciences, period. Teleological, right? I would imagine, and are many people going to watch this? I'm not sure. Probably not. But I would imagine some of my students are actually very happy to hear me talk about this, because this is what many of my students actually wanted me to talk about all along, right? Alex, why do we talk about Plato today? Let's talk about Lacan. Let's talk about, Oedipal castration. Let's talk about death of the subject. Let's talk about death of God. Why do we have to talk about, Plato, Hobbes, and Immanuel Kant? Your wishes are granted today, my colleagues. Anyway, it's a bit of an introduction. I hope not too long. And without further ado, let's jump into the text. I don't know. Should I clip this as a separate clip? Maybe.